The first time I met you, I didn't want to be without you again.
Welcome back to our channel. I'm Dumi.
And I'm Ru.
And we are Rumi. And today we're going to be talking about
how we prepared for each other.
Yes, how we prepared for each other.
Yeah, and what that basically means is how the year before we met, the steps we took as individuals to improve ourselves so that we could be better suited for this progressive, healthy relationship we're currently enjoying every day of our lives.
Okay, ma'am. Okay. Yeah, what she said. I wasn't paying attention.
Why weren't you paying
I
attention?
was listening to you, but I wasn't listening to you. I would like
Wow,
I was
so
hearing
you
but
just watch my...
I was just like,
You're just like, oh, that sounds nice. But you're not even listening
sorry,
to me.
sorry.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Just a disclaimer, we're not saying that it's your life purpose to be preparing to meet your soulmate or whatever. This is just the things we noticed really helped us have, a good relationship in our opinion. The year before we met, we both went through some big breakups.
Yours.
Yeah. From our on again, off again relationships. I think the year before we met, that's when my relationship with this person officially ended. I was done, completely done, and I actually got to acknowledge that I was single, like for real single, not in a situationship.
So my breakup was very traumatizing. A lot of things that happened that year that I can't really talk about, but all these things had contributed to me having this huge mental breakdown. And that year, when I was going through a lot of painful things, the person whom I trusted a lot left me, and I was left on my own and had to learn how to navigate through this pain myself. I couldn't really lean on any friends or family because I was in such a delicate place where once I had been betrayed, it was very difficult for me to trust other people. So at the end of that year, I ended up in a mental hospital, which I am very grateful for the experience. Yeah, it changed my life in a lot of ways.
I get that. I totally relate because I had to listen to myself. I wasn't distracted by another person's emotions, or I couldn't just go online and be like, oh, hey, babe, what are you up to? And just ignore what was going on internally. I had to be with myself and really learn to talk to myself. And just being single like that was such a new experience to me. It was a really new experience to be able to be intimate with myself and learn my habits, learn my routines, learn my triggers. It was just a lot of, wow, I didn't know me like that, because when you're dating, you're constantly craving to know more and more about this person because you just assume that you know yourself. You're like, I'm with myself, I know myself, I understand myself. But when you actually take the time out to be like, what am I about? And you get that, you do some introspective work, you're just like, wow, I did not know this about myself.
I think that's different from my case because even though we had only started dating that year, I was single the previous years. I had spent a lot of time being single, but in a way I wasn't really single because of this relationship that we had just, I can't speak for anyone else, I had just dragged on with me, all that baggage of that relationship, hoping that something could come about, we could start again, we could fix it, and I just kept that hope with me. And when that moment came and I still failed to have this relationship, it just really crushed me.
Yeah.
So when I had to let go, I had to let go of a lot of years of just waiting, putting my faith into this relationship that wasn't there, and realizing that it's not gonna happen, and coming to terms with it. It played on my self-esteem so much, and I felt like I wasn't worth loving. So when I got the time to be alone, it was painful, it was hard, because I wasn't just physically alone, it was now a thing of mentally I was alone, and emotionally I was alone because I had to purge this person out of my like system.
Yeah.
So now that I'm alone, I broke.
True. Yeah, so I guess the first thing we did to prepare for each other was to be actually single. You know, like there was no complicated or anything. It was all ties, all future plans, all everything was just cut. We were completely single. The thing about being single is that you have a lot of alone moments. Moments when you're left alone with your mind, your thoughts, your emotions. You really get the chance to acknowledge them, give them space, and face traumas head on. You get to really hyper focus and take your time, you know, really unpacking things, because you don't have to explain things to anyone. You know, you don't have to hide how much it hurts you. You don't have to pretend to be okay for anyone. You really can just be like, wow, I was really hurting in this moment, and you can just feel that hurt on your own. And you know that thing of self-soothing, like babies, people train their babies to self-soothe. It was kind of like that, you know, like learning self-healing is like learning how to self-soothe. You know, learning like, okay, this is what traumatized me. Acknowledge that you're traumatized. Say that it is valid to you. You know, just because not feeling that obligation to explain it to a partner, to have someone else validate your feelings and your trauma, sometimes can make it feel like, oh, maybe I'm just making this up. But just that alone space allows you to be like, okay, no, this is real. The things that are real to you are really real, and you don't have to convince anyone that this is real. So having that chance to really face that trauma head on allowed me to begin the process of healing. You know, I actually got to acknowledge, like, why am I talking to myself like this? I think that's a big one for me, is how I speak to myself. I can be very negative. I shout at myself all the time. Like if I mess up one thing, I'm just the whole day, I'm mad at myself, I'm angry. I can even self-punish and do all these things. And it's like, but would you do this to the person you love? Like, you know, when Bay does something wrong, you talk it out, you work through it, and you're like, it's okay, people make mistakes, and then you do whatever you can to make them feel better and move on. So I had to start learning how to apply how I would treat my partner to myself. I became my partner.
So for me, when it came to healing after that horrible time, it was very difficult to begin the healing. I spent a lot of time just crying, in despair, and I still had to make time to go to campus and function and do school, and I would do a lot of assignments, like, you know, the day before, but they would get done and I would feel great about it, and then I'd go back into my depression, into my hole. And the thing with, you know, physical wounds and emotional wounds, like physical wounds, you can literally watch it heal. You put the band-aid, you put it I don't know first aid, I'm so sorry guys. I don't know first aid, I don't know what you do, but I know at some point there's a bandage next. So you put the bandage after all the things, it's not sanitizing, you don't
so
sanitize.
You clean it.
After cleaning the wound,
yeah,
you put the bandage,
yeah.
Okay? And after a few days, I hope you start seeing the results of the sanitizer.
What she's trying to say is that you can there's a process. It's a very automated
yes.
human process.
Basically, yeah. You can start seeing that now there's a scar that's forming, or if you're lucky, no scar at all. And and you can see like, okay, now I've healed. Like we can talk about all the bones I've broken and I didn't know about, and they healed, you know. That process for me in terms of emotionally was not the same, because now that with this emotional wound, you don't exactly know what you're supposed to do. Like it hurts, but you can't exactly take like pain medicine for that pain. Painkillers. You can't exactly take painkillers for the pain you feel inside. It's just consistent, and all you can do really is just occupy yourself, like distract yourself, like just do things to make you forget. But the moment I was in my room alone, it all came back flooding, and it was terrible, and it got to the point where I couldn't really function. So emotional healing is not a linear process as, you know, the physical healing is. For me, what was important during that healing process, even though it may not have looked like I was healing to other people, for me, to get up every day, and there would be something that I would do every day, which is to take my meds, like my mental health meds, and I would still be depressed. But for me, that was my commitment to living. Like, I had to choose between whether I lived or died. And for me, every day, that act of just getting up from my bed, taking my pills, and if it only meant just eating one slice of bread, for me, that was it. I had conquered a day, and I had, gone through it. So the moment I stepped into the mental hospital, I think we can talk about that in depth later. I know that the moment I stepped into the mental hospital, I understood that I came to realize that I wasn't alone, because the people around me did not look at me weirdly. They didn't judge me if I didn't want to get up from bed. They really were patient with me, and the people who I was sharing the room with were all very much like me, and we all had similar struggles. So for the first time in a while, I didn't feel alone in my loneliness. We all shared like some sort of burden that we were all trying to heal from. That really helped me. So the moment I got out of there, I wasn't healed. It wasn't a miracle, but I was committed to keep going with my progress and hopefully get better, which I'm here, so still going at it, but here I am. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, I guess to summarize, the next thing we did after being single and cutting all ties and plans with everyone was acknowledge trauma and start healing. Start committing to healing, which is a big step.
Like, you just have to face whatever fears you have head on. You don't need to be successful at it the first time. You just need to learn, you just need to understand it and learn your way around your trauma. Yeah. So after all this trauma and all this healing and all this self awareness and everything like that, after that year, when I came back to school, I was feeling fresh. I was like, okay, you know what, that ex of mine, whatever. And that was when I first met her. And when I met her, my mind was basically focused on protecting my peace. I was really focused on looking out for myself, because I felt like I had dealt with so much these past couple of years that I just needed to look after myself, because I understood that nobody would do it for me. So that was my main focus that time.
And once I had acknowledged who I was as a person, learned my habits, understood my routine, understood my needs, granted it's a lifetime process, I got to the conclusion that, okay, I'm going to intentionally be with someone. I was like, from the moment I commit to someone, there is a plan. It's not going to just be up in the air. I don't know what's gonna happen, let's just go with the flow. I didn't want that anymore. I wanted to commit to someone, be like, we are building an empire together, I want to be with you, this is the plan, how do we work through it? I just wanted commitment, because life is unpredictable, and I wanted someone to be like, you know what, whatever life gives us, I got your back, and I will have their back unconditionally. That's what I wanted.
So because I had, committed to this dream of being with this person, I already was well versed in commitment, right? But when we first met, I really wasn't trying to commit to anyone. I really was just like, okay, let's have a little bit of fun, explore a little, because I had been tied down for so long, and it was the first time I was single, like really single. And when I met her, I was like, I just
You sound annoyed.
I'm just, I was finally being a hoe. Like, for real, I was being a hoe. And you came and you were like, nah, you can't be a hoe no more. Well, you didn't say that. But when I met you, I was so compelled to stop being a hoe. Because I was like, I really want to try and see where this might go. Because that was the first time I felt like that for someone else after this long ass relationship. And you really don't say no.
There was the time when you dumped me
Mm.
in the kitchen after she read some very interesting text messages on my phone without my permission. And in that moment, in that instant, she came and she confronted me about it. She didn't tell me that she had read my phone without my permission. She just said, I feel like ABC, so I think we should stop whatever we're doing, because I don't know what it is that we're doing. I'm a little into it. You don't seem as into it as me. So I don't want to bother you, and I want to protect my peace. So I'm going to leave. You know, so just that strength in just being like, actually, I won't tolerate your disrespect. I guess that moment made me really fall in love with you more. Well, first I realized, damn, I could really lose this. So that was like a reality check. But it also made me admire you, to be like, wow, she really wasn't even going to try and talk about it. She was just like, nope, this is it. I will not be hurt by anybody. I'm going. And I really did admire that.
Thank you.
So that, seeing that and my intentionality, like I was so committed to being intentional and commitment, and to see how committed she was to herself. I think our minds and our frequency, we were just on the same frequency on what we wanted out of a relationship.
Yeah.
We wanted commitment, we wanted realism, and we just wanted something real, and we are determined on creating that every day. I think that's really what it is. We were just tired of pretending and just trying to live up to other people's expectations and things like that. So much so that now that we're together, it's very realistic. Like if I feel like I don't want to talk or I don't want to do a certain thing, I don't. If she wants to be in bed all day because she's depressed, she is. She doesn't have to explain anything to me, you know. And it's just very nice to be in a space where we can just be ourselves together.
Yeah. So to round it up in a way that too long, don't read what TLDR.
Yeah.
TLDR. We went through some shit. We decided to fix that shit, and when we met together, we decided to fuck shit up. So, so yeah, basically, we learned a lot apart, and everything that has shaped us throughout these years has helped make us better people, better partners to ourselves and to each other. Because what we really did was nurture the relationships we had with ourselves first.
Sure.
And when we came together, we knew what we were trying to create together and what we were trying to do together, and we were able to communicate it and give as much as we could take.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's important.
So yeah.
So this is how I prepared for you. I was gonna say that. I was like, oh, that's so cheesy.
Right.
But you went there. You went there.
Okay.
Should it be Rutu now?
Rutu. No.
Turu?
Turu. But yeah, happy Valentine's Day, guys. I hope you guys have a lot of... Oh, we used to call it Friendship Day in primary school. So
wow.
Happy Friendship Day, guys, because we were not allowed to have romantic relations with people. I hope you guys have had a lovely, splendid, romantic day with yourselves and each other.